Hello everyone, this is part 11 of What If Naruto Left Konoha and Goes to Sunagakure, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist. To see more, comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe, it gives me more motivation. Enjoy. The small group of Konoha ninjas were very thankful that the walls of Suna had finally come into view. It was a 3-day travel to the country at a moderate pace and they were all ready for a soft bed and hot food. Suna turned to her followers and smiled. All of Naruto's friends had insisted on coming. All of Team 10, Team 8, Team Guy, and Iruka had come along. Jiraiya and Shizune were behind her, talking between themselves about their favorite blonde. Kakashi and Sakura had not wanted to come, but Tsunade had told them they would come willingly, or spend the entire time in the hospital while she was away. For Sakura, that could mean one of two things. For Kakashi it meant only one thing. So they had begrudgingly come along. The guards at the wall saw them coming and smiled. It wasn't often they got visits from allies, being one of the more out-of-the-way villages. Welcome to Suna. May we see your passports please and reason for visiting? Tsunade nodded and produced all their paperwork. She would have done her infamous finger flick to the forehead, but she had to be diplomatic nowadays. Besides, Naruto might not like it if she attacked his people. Her mood dropped slightly when she thought of that. Konoha was no longer his people. But then again, Naruto had never truly been Konoha's when they didn't want him. The guards gave the passports the once-over and handed them back. Tsunade took a step forward but was stopped by a raised hand. Reason for visiting. You don't have a scheduled visit planned and Kazekage-sama was not informed of your coming. We've come to visit a former Leaf Ninja who joined your ranks. The guards looked confused for a moment before the lights seemed to come on and they smiled brightly. Uzumaki-sama. Yes, he's at the academy teaching right now. He has done very well here over the past year. Tsunade smiled and nodded her head, happy with the report. As they walked into the city, the guards called out to them again. Be sure to visit the Kazekage first please. He'll take you to Uzumaki-sama personally. Tsunade just waved her hand and led the group to the cage tower. Gaara had been having a typical morning, looking over docents, signing where necessary, and sipping tea in between. Life in Suna had become a bit more hectic once Naruto's experiment was revealed to the public. It was about a half and half affair. Some wanted the green, others wanted to retain their heritage as the village of sand. Gaara had decided to compromise. He had commissioned Naruto to make several parks around the city and to start on some farms later in the year, around the planting time. This appeased most. The richer denizens of Suna had demanded that Naruto use the green to make their homes more beautiful and had gone away somewhat angry and more frightened. Naruto did not take to being bullied just because someone thought they were better than everyone else. If you want your land to be green simply for your own selfish reasons, then you had best get used to seeing sand forever. I have no intentions of helping only those who have the power and money. Gaara chuckled at that memory. Suna's small council had demanded that he make Naruto use his powers, for the good of Suna, and Gaara had let out a small amount of king intent to make his point clear. Naruto's power will not be used for such petty purposes. His goal is to help Suna as a whole, not her noble subjects. Then I suppose you might tell us why Uzumaki's property is a veritable paradise in the middle of the desert. That seems like he is keeping the power for himself. Gaara had not been amused and let them know as such. Naruto has responsibilities to his new summons and will do as he must. This village will flourish with his help and I won't have that sabotaged by narrow-minded, power-hungry fools like you. This council can and will be disbanded if this foolishness is pursued. Am I clear? The council had left with its tail between its legs, knowing that they couldn't go against a former Jinchuriki and a present one at the same time. They'd be wiped out, not to mention the rest of their little family. Gaara rubbed his eyes and thought about how the citizens had reacted. Naruto had had the wall separating his land from Suna tore down slightly so they could explore. The children had been so happy, running through the grass, playing in the stream, lazing about in the sun. The adults had sampled the fruits, finding them sweet and tasty. Some had started toward the caves but were stopped by Naruto. Those caves are sacred. Please don't enter them. My summons would not appreciate it. To prove his point, he had summoned Tsubasa and the raccoon had spoken as gently as a giant animal with a booming voice could. We are here to serve Naruto and, by proxy, Sunagakure. We will help your village to prosper again and ask only that you respect our wishes and not enter our sanctuary without permission. His request was met with respect and a little fear. After all, his teeth were very imposing and he could have squished everyone there. Naruto had since been helping Suna little by little in his spare time. He started with a park in the middle of the city and had the raccoons help him bring forth a spring and form a small pond. He left the rest of the park's shaping to the citizens and was happy when they converted it into a peaceful spot. Benches for sitting, swings hung from branches, some had even gone to Kiri and brought back fish to put in the pond and the waters of Naruto's creek. He'd thanked them profusely. But what the park was most used for was meditation by the people. Shade was a commodity in Suna and being able to meditate in comfort outside was a blessing. He had gone from there to the poorer districts of Suna, helping them erect small vegetable gardens and giving them directions on how to care for them. Most of the poor families had thanked him while bowing over and had asked why he would do this for them. Naruto had smiled and bowed in return. You're my people now and you need my help. I'll always help if I can. Those small gardens were flourishing and the families had been able to use the money saved for other things, such as fixing up dilapidated homes and purchasing better clothing for their children. He'd relegated himself to getting them off the ground before moving on to larger projects, such as farms. That could come later. Gaara was worried that his friend was stretching himself too thin and had ordered him not to use the green for 1 month. Naruto had protested until Gaara had pinned him to the wall with sand and sighed. As much as I hate to pull the rank card here, Naruto, you are a shinobi under my command and I order you to cease your extracurricular activities until I say otherwise. He shook his head at that particular memory. Naruto hadn't spoken to him for 2 days afterward. He got over it quickly though and instead began to enjoy the small vacation from the green. Gaara was sure the raccoons enjoyed it as well. Naruto had been running them into the ground, literally, in the search for water under the sands. Naruto's smartass familiar, Sanzoku, had flopped over at one time. No more boss. Just go on without me. I'm so tired. A bit overdramatic, yes, but it got Naruto to lay off for a while. Gaara chuckled at the thought of the strange red panda when he heard a knock at his door. Yes, Kazekage-sama, some Konoha ninjas are here to see you. Send them in. His eyes widened slightly when Tsunade and Jiraiya strolled in first, followed by all of Naruto's old friends. He stood and addressed them. Welcome to Suna, Hokage-sama. To what do we owe the honor? No need to be formal, Kazekage-sama. We're here to visit Naruto. But first, we'd like to hear how he's doing. Gaara smirked, slightly scaring the Konoha ninjas and beckoned for them to sit, while he called for Kankuro and Temari. He turned back to the 2 Sannin. This might take a while. Sake. Their nods couldn't have been more enthusiastic. Naruto watched as his students walked over the top of the creek, some still struggling slightly, but every one of his students were able to do it. He allowed the other teachers to use the land on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but otherwise restricted people's access. This was his private property and he didn't want people thinking they could drop in whenever they wanted. Hey boss. Naruto looked down to Sanzoku and allowed the red panda to climb his leg and settle around his N. What's the deal? You have visitors coming. They have the leaf symbol on the height I ate. Friends of yours. Probably Tsunade and Jiraiya. They're all right. Gaara's probably with them. Hey, they probably want to see how I teach. Let's get the kids going on a lecture then, shall we? Sanzoku just nuzzled into Naruto's N and went to sleep. Naruto clapped his hands loudly, the noise ringing out over the area and the kids came running. He watched as they settled down and let his senses slide over the clearing. Several chakra signatures were close and soon they entered the clearing. He cleared his tea and turned to his students, his voice raising slightly so everyone could hear. All right guys, today we're going to talk about deception and its applications as a ninja. One of the Konoha ninjas snickered and was promptly elbowed in the gut by Temari. She wasn't going to miss one of his lectures because of some dumbass. Deception is one of a ninja's greatest tools to use. With it, You can change the tide of battle in your favor or convince someone to help you. Deception is part of our trade. We are taught to deceive our enemies, but what about our friends and family? Everyone perked up and listened intently. Deception of one's enemies is acceptable, because they are not of your village and therefore, you owe them nothing. False information is dealt like candy in the ninja world, and learning to be convincing is a plus. A good poker face can save your life and the life of your comrades. Sadly, some people never learn how to gamble wisely. Sunad growled at the obvious barb in her direction. So, the brat knew they were present, huh? She barely caught Gaara's chuckle and narrowed her eyes. She'd be good, for now. But deceiving your teammates and friends is quite another thing altogether. I spent the better half of my childhood hiding from my friends. I didn't let them know what was inside me, and I never let it be known how good I actually was. Trust was a big issue on my team, and while I wanted to trust them, I knew I never truly could. In my mind, if they knew what I held, they'd abandon me like everyone else. But I wasn't the only deceiver. I didn't know about Uchiha Sasuke's curse seal until it was too late. It was kept from me and it nearly got me ked. For the first 12 years of my life, it was kept from me that I was a Jinchuriki. Deception kept me from knowing my purpose in life and why I was hated. Deception is a double-edged sword. Deception can be one of our greatest tools and our worst enemy. Henge is a deceptive tool that changes our appearance. Information gathering is a gamble because you risk your life for something that may not even be true. But lies among friends, family, and teammates are unacceptable and can kill you in the long run. Lies start out small and they grow. At first, it's about how strong you are. Then it goes to how smart you are. Then it snowballs until you get into a situation where you're not prepared and the cold hard fact that you aren't strong enough or smart enough comes to the forefront and everyone you know is S. All because you deceived them and made yourself seem better than you are. Never sell yourself short, but know your limitations. Don't deceive yourself into thinking you're ready for something you're not. If you know you aren't the one for the mission, tell your superior, and if they have any brains, they'll take your advice into account. But if you can do the mission, don't deceive yourself into believing you aren't strong enough. He stopped and turned to where the group of adult ninjas were standing, his hands in his coat pockets, his back to his students. His voice rang out clearly as he spoke and wrapped up his lecture. If you must deceive someone, deceive only your enemies and yourself. Lie to your enemies and throw them off what the truth is. Never give them what they want. If you want to lie to yourself, then tell yourself you aren't strong enough and use that as motivation to get stronger. Surpass your expectations and soon enough, you'll surpass everyone around you. Remember, look underneath the underneath, because deception can only go so far before you unearth the truth. He turned back to his students and beamed at them, showing off his fangs. Now, class is over for today. I want all of you to continue with your stuff at home. Read while sitting on the ceiling. Not only will it increase your concentration, you'll surprise your family and maybe get a decent scare or two. Now get out of here. The Konoha ninjas looked on in awe at the way he handled the kids. This couldn't be their Naruto, he couldn't do anything right. This Naruto was calm, cool, collected, in control. Some hung their heads slightly. They'd let quite a gem leave their village. The students all stood and rushed past the group of adults, who watched them go. Naruto stood with his hands behind his back, watching as they finally drank in the look of his land. Sunad walked toward him and stopped short a few feet before bringing her hands into the ram seal and whispering, "Kai." Naruto sighed and quirked an eyebrow. Everyone does that. Sunad opened her eyes to find the trees and gurgling stream still there and wrapped her arms around her favorite blonde. So this is what you've been up to. I see you found Kushina's scrolls. Hi. The sound of shouting and laughing came from behind them and they both turned to see the Konoha ninjas running around like little kids, checking everything out. The Sand siblings strode forward slowly and Temari wound her way under Naruto's arm while wrapping her arm around his waist. Sunad seed an eyebrow and grinned slyly. So the pervert was right, you two are together. Of course I was right. When have I ever been wrong? Naruto laughed and clapped his sensei on the shoulder. Every day of your life, Ero Senin. Jiraiya looked downtrodden for all of 2 seconds before putting on a lecherous grin. So, have you two, you know. The two blondes looked at each other quizzically until they realized what was said and turned beet red. No. And it's none of your damn business. Everyone was astounded that they had said the same thing at the same time, and the rest of the ninjas gathered round to begin the question marathon. After several rounds of hugs and handshakes, Naruto sighed and looked at the sky. I'll bet you guys are hungry cause I'm starving. I'll send some clones to get takeout. As the clones ran off, he sat down in the shade, with Temari by his side, and began to recount his past year. Temari hadn't realized that she had fallen asleep until she woke up stretched across the ground with her head in Naruto's lap. When he felt her stir, he helped her sit up and dusted her back off. Want some dango or some stir fry? You've got to be hungry. She nodded and looked across to find everyone eating while talking and laughing. Did you answer all of their questions? For the most part, yeah. Ino appeared beside them suddenly and flopped down, a bowl of stir-fry in one hand, chopsticks in the other. She pointed at Naruto's end with her chopsticks. Hey Naruto, what's with the scarf? It isn't that cold out here. I'm not a scarf blondes. Ino shrieked and leapt away as Sanzoku yawned and stretched on Naruto's shoulder. Calm down Ino. Everyone, this is Sanzoku, my personal summon. I hold the raccoon contract now. Jiraiya perked up and sat in front of him. Really? I've never heard of a raccoon contract. Show me. I'm not proof enough. No. I've seen familiars that can talk before. I want to see him summon one. Naruto nodded and walked to a spot that was very clear before he had a great thought. Hey Jiraiya, can you still summon Bunter? The Toad Sage nodded and stood, following Naruto up and over the wall. The others leapt to the top and watched as the two stood a few hundred feet from the wall. You summoned Bunter first, okay? Jiraiya concentrated and made a few one-handed seals before shouting, Kuchio's no jutsu. He rose atop Gamabunter and sighed when the Toad Boss began his normal rant. Jiraiya, why have you summoned me here in this dreadful place? Hey boss. Bunter rolled his eyes down to see a waving Naruto and smiled widely. Oi brat, I didn't think I'd ever see you again. Ready to re-sign the contract yet? Naruto's grin drooped a little and he dropped his hand. Sorry boss, but I have a new summon. I wanted you to meet him. Bunter nodded and Naruto flipped through the hand signs and soon, a large cloud of smoke erupted. When it cleared, Bunter's eyes went wide, as did everyone's. Naruto, why have you summoned me? Tsubasa, I want you to meet Gamabunter, the Toad Boss. We've met before. Hello, old friend. Tsubasa. Naruto left with the Jiraiya to rejoin the group, leaving the two boss summons to talk. Bunter started first. I see you've taken Naruto as your new summoner. Hi, I have. He is everything I could have dreamed of for a partner. Can he control it well? Hi, he can. Very well. Better than his mother ever could. So, you plan to help him return this place to its former glory? Hi. The two were silent for a while, until Bunter started again. I wish he had not cancelled our contract. Is there any way I can convince you to get him to sign it again? No. I'm sorry Gamabunter, but he is mine now. One day, you will find another worthy of you. The old toad hung his head and sighed. Maybe, but there will never be another like that boy. Even his father didn't have the level of potential he does. I agree. And that's why I can't share him. I'm sorry. The two summons bowed to one another and disappeared in giant puffs of smoke. After everyone had gotten caught up, and accepted the notion that Naruto dealt with schoolchildren, they had all left for their hotel to rest after their TS. They all agreed to meet up the next day at the property and everyone would fill Naruto in on their time in Konoha. Tsunade wanted to talk to him in private with Jiraiya when Shikada and Naruto accepted. He also offered to cook for them, getting sparkly eyes from Temari and Chuji. Naruto lay in his bed in the compound and let out a heavy sigh. Tomorrow, he would have a substitute teacher watch over his class while he caught up with his friends. He knew many wanted one-on-one talks with him and all the guys had demanded a spar. No doubt, the girls would occupy Temari, trying to get any dirt they could on the couple's relationship. He looked up when he heard his door creak and saw the silhouette of Temari's hair enter the frame. Hey, can I sleep with you tonight? Naruto quirked his eyebrow and rolled his head to look at the slumbering form of Sanzoku. My bed is somewhat preoccupied right now. If you can convince Sanzoku to leave, you can. Temari marched over to the bed and put her hands on her hips. Get lost furball. Sanzoku never opened his eyes. It had become like a game between him and Temari to insult each other. Go F yourself with a barbed wire baseball bat. I'm comfortable and I ain't moving. Get your flea-ridden ass out of my spot or I'll skin you alive. Up your ass with a garden hose filled with rusty nails. Naruto sighed and lay back with his hands behind his head. He had to admit, these two were great at sarcasm. Pretty soon, the verbal banter would degenerate into physical contact. Apparently, Temari really wasn't playing around and the red panda found himself lifted by the scruff of his N and booted out of the bedroom. Sleep on my bed tonight, you good-for-nothing fur coat. Crazy bee. Temari sighed happily as she flopped down beside Naruto and crawled under the covers, snuggling up close to him. He wrapped an arm around her shoulder and shuddered when she kissed his N. I thought we agreed not to do this until I got my own place. She gave him a pouty look and batted her eyelashes. Not even a little bit. Can I at least feel it? No. She growled and shucked out of her kimono before reaching over and grabbing one of his shirts off a chair. She whipped it on and turned her back to him, pulling the covers over her more. Fine. Good night then. She felt him chuckle and found herself suddenly wrapped in strong arms that pulled her back. She wiggled a bit to get comfortable and found the back of her N kissed. Temari mewled happily and shuddered when he whispered into her ear, her eyes already drooping as she melted against his warmth. Night Temari. I love you. Love you too. Tomorrow was going to be a hell of a day. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.